Kang Do-yun woke up at 5 in the morning like he always did. The small room was dark and cold. He could hear the hum of the space station all around him. It was a sound he had learned to love over the past 3 years. He looked at the small bed next to his. His daughter Nari was still sleeping. She held her old stuffed rabbit close to her chest. The rabbit had one ear missing. Do-yun had tried to fix it many times, but Nari said she liked it that way. Do-yun got up quietly. He did not want to wake her. She was only 7 years old. She needed her sleep. He walked to the tiny kitchen and made himself some coffee. The coffee was cheap and not very good, but it was warm and that was enough. Do-yun was a janitor. He cleaned the old parts of the Galactic Unity Station. Sector 7 was where he worked. It was the oldest part of the station. Most people had forgotten it existed. The walls were gray and the lights often broke, but Do-yun did not mind. It was quiet here. It was safe. He looked at the photo on the wall. It showed a woman with a beautiful smile. Her name was Yuna. She was his wife. She died 3 years ago from a sickness that the doctors could not cure. After she died, Do-yun took Nari and left Earth. He needed to start again. He needed to be somewhere new. The Galactic Unity Station was not a bad place for humans, but it was not a good place either. Humans were new to the galaxy. Other species had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. They looked at humans like they were children. Some of them looked at humans like they were insects. Do-yun did not care what they thought. He just wanted to work hard and take care of his daughter. That was all that mattered. At 6 o'clock, Nari woke up. She rubbed her eyes and smiled at her father. "Good morning, Appa," she said. Appa meant father in Korean. "Good morning, little star," Do-yun said. He always called her that. "Are you hungry?" Nari nodded. Do-yun made her some rice and eggs. It was a simple breakfast, but Nari ate it happily. She was a good child. She never complained about anything. After breakfast, Do-yun took Nari to the small school on the station. There were only a few human children there. Most of the students were from other species, but Nari did not seem to notice the difference. She played with everyone. Do-yun watched her run into the school. Then he went to work. His first job was to clean the main hallway of Sector 7. The floor was dirty. Someone had spilled something blue on the ground. Do-yun did not know what it was. He did not want to know. He just cleaned it up. As he worked, he heard people talking. They were speaking in quick, excited voices. "Did you hear? The Valanthe Empress is here." "What, on this station?" "Her ship had engine problems. They had to stop for repairs." Do-yun stopped cleaning. He knew about the Valanthe Empire. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were one of the most powerful empires in existence. Their empress was feared by all. Her name was Ilvara, and people said she had conquered entire planets without mercy. Do-yun did not care about politics. He went back to cleaning. But then his communicator beeped. It was his supervisor, a tall alien with 4 arms. "Do-yun," the supervisor said, "we have a problem. The station is full. There is no room for the Empress's daughters." "What does that have to do with me?" Do-yun asked. "Sector 7 is the only secure area with available space. We need to put the princesses there for one night, and we need someone to watch them." Do-yun stopped moving. "You want me to watch the Empress's daughters?" "You have security clearance for that wing. You are the only one available. It is just for one night." Do-yun wanted to say no. He was just a janitor. He did not know anything about taking care of alien princesses. But his supervisor did not wait for an answer. The call ended. Do-yun stood there in the empty hallway. He did not know what to do. At 4 in the afternoon, he picked up Nari from school. He told her they would have guests tonight. "What kind of guests?" Nari asked. "2 girls," Do-yun said. "They are from another planet. Their mother is very important." Nari's eyes got big. "Are they princesses?" Do-yun nodded. Nari jumped up and down. Real princesses, can I show them my drawings? Do-yun smiled. His daughter was not afraid of anything. We will see, he said. At 7 in the evening, the princesses arrived. Do-yun and Nari waited in the hallway outside their small quarters. The lights flickered above them. Do-yun wished he had fixed them earlier. The first thing he saw was the guards. They were tall and wore silver armor. Their eyes were cold and hard. Behind them walked 2 young girls. The older one looked about 10 years old in human terms. She had pale purple skin and long silver hair. Her eyes were gold like 2 small suns. She walked with her head held high. She looked proud and angry. The younger one was smaller. She looked about Nari's age. Her skin was the same purple color but lighter. Her hair was shorter and her eyes were a softer gold. She looked scared. She hid behind her sister. One of the guards spoke. "This is Princess Thessa and Princess Lian. They will stay here until morning. Do not touch them. Do not speak to them unless spoken to. Do not look at them directly." Do-yun nodded slowly. The guards turned and walked away. And then he was alone. Just him, Nari, and 2 alien princesses. The older princess, Thessa, looked around the hallway. Her face showed disgust. "This place is old and dirty," she said. Her voice was cold. "It is clean," Do-yun said calmly. "I cleaned it myself." Thessa looked at him like he was a bug. "You are the janitor." "Yes." "And you are supposed to watch us." "Yes." Thessa made a sound of anger. "This is an insult. Our mother will hear about this." Do-yun did not react. He had dealt with difficult people before. He knew that getting angry would not help. "Please come inside," he said. "It is warmer there." Thessa did not move, but her younger sister, Lian, was shaking. The hallway was cold and she was clearly not used to it. Nari stepped forward. She looked at Lian with curious eyes. "Are you cold?" she asked. "My appa can make hot chocolate. It is really good." Lian looked at Nari. For a moment, something changed in her eyes. She looked confused, like she did not understand why this human girl was being nice to her. Thessa grabbed her sister's arm. "We do not need anything from humans." But Lian kept looking at Nari, and Nari kept smiling. Do-yun opened the door to their quarters. "The choice is yours," he said, "but it is warm inside and my daughter makes the beds very comfortable." He walked inside. Nari followed him. For a long moment the princesses stood alone in the cold hallway. Then slowly they walked inside too. Do-yun did not know it yet, but that night would change everything. Not just for him, not just for the princesses, but for the entire galaxy. For now, he just closed the door and started making hot chocolate. The inside of Do-yun's quarters was small but warm. There was a tiny kitchen, a living area with an old couch and 2 small bedrooms. The walls had pictures drawn by Nari. They were colorful and messy, full of stars and happy faces. Princess Thessa looked around with cold eyes. She did not say anything, but her face showed that she thought this place was beneath her. Princess Lian stood near the door. She was still shaking a little. She looked at the drawings on the wall. For a moment her eyes softened. Do-yun went to the kitchen. He started making hot chocolate. He used real cocoa powder that he had saved for special days. Today seemed like a special day. Nari sat on the couch. She patted the spot next to her and looked at Lian. "You can sit here," she said. "The couch is soft." Lian did not move. She looked at her sister for permission. Thessa crossed her arms. "We do not sit on furniture that belongs to lesser species." Nari tilted her head. "Lesser species, what does that mean?" Do-yun spoke from the kitchen. "It means some people think they are better than others because of where they come from." "That is silly," Nari said. "Everyone is different, nobody is better." Thessa made an angry sound. "You do not understand. Our empire has ruled for 10,000 years. Humans have only been in space for less than 100 years. You are children compared to us." Nari thought about this. Then she smiled. My Appa says children are the best. They have not learned to be mean yet. Thessa opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. She did not know what to say. Do-yun brought the hot chocolate. He put 4 cups on the small table. The cups did not match. One had a cartoon character on it. Another was cracked on one side. It is not poison, Do-yun said when Thessa looked at the cup with suspicion. It is just chocolate and milk. Nari grabbed her cup and drank happily. It is so good, Appa. Lien looked at the cup in front of her. Slowly, carefully, she picked it up. She smelled it first. Then she took a tiny sip. Her eyes went wide. It is sweet, she whispered. Thessa looked at her sister. Lien put that down. But Lien took another sip, and another. Soon she had finished the whole cup. She looked at Do-yun with different eyes, not fear anymore, something closer to wonder. Thessa did not touch her cup. She sat on a chair far from everyone else. Her face was hard like stone. Do-yun did not push her. He understood. Some walls took longer to break down. At 9 o'clock, Do-yun told Nari it was time for bed. Nari complained a little, but she obeyed. She got up from the couch and walked to her room. But before she went inside, she stopped. She ran to her bed and came back holding her stuffed rabbit, the one with the missing ear. She walked up to Lien and held out the rabbit. You can sleep with this tonight. His name is Bomb. He will keep you safe. Lien stared at the rabbit. Her hands shook as she took it. Why, she asked softly, why are you giving this to me? Because you look sad, Nari said. Bomb always helps me when I am sad. Lien held the rabbit against her chest. Her eyes became wet. She did not cry, but she was close. Thessa watched this from her chair. Something flickered in her golden eyes, but she said nothing. Nari went to bed. Do-yun set up blankets on the couch and the floor for the princesses. He gave them his own pillow. I will be in the other room if you need anything, he said. He turned off most of the lights. Only a small lamp stayed on. Then he went to check on Nari. At midnight, everything went wrong. Do-yun woke up to the sound of screaming. He jumped out of bed and ran into the living room. The lights were completely off. The entire station had lost power. The darkness was total and heavy. Lien was screaming. It was a sound of pure terror. Do-yun moved quickly. He knew where everything was in the dark. He had lived here for 3 years. He found his emergency box and pulled out some glow sticks. He cracked them, and soft green light filled the room. Lien was on the floor, curled into a ball. She was shaking and crying. Thessa was next to her, holding her, but she looked scared too. What is wrong? Do-yun asked. He kept his voice calm. The darkness, Thessa said. Her voice was not cold anymore. It was filled with fear. Our planet has eternal twilight. We never experience true darkness. It is like death to us. Do-yun understood now. He moved quickly. He found candles and lit them. He put them around the room. The light was soft and warm, pushing back the shadows. Lien was still crying. Do-yun knelt down next to her. Look at me, he said gently. Look at the light. You are safe. Nothing will hurt you here. Lien looked up. Her face was wet with tears. She was still holding Nari's rabbit. Do-yun did something without thinking. He started to hum a song. It was an old Korean lullaby. His mother used to sing it to him when he was a child. He had sung it to Nari many times. The melody was soft and slow. It filled the room like water. Lien stopped crying. She listened to the sound. Her shaking became slower. Thessa watched Do-yun with wide eyes. She had never seen anything like this. On her planet, fear was weakness. You did not show it. You did not comfort it. You pushed it down and ignored it. But here was this human, this janitor. He was singing to her sister like she was the most important person in the galaxy. Nari came out of her room. She had woken up from the noise. She saw what was happening and immediately sat down next to Lien. She took Lien's hand and held it. "It is okay," Nari said. "The dark is not scary. The stars live in the dark, and stars are beautiful." Lian looked at Nari. Slowly, very slowly, she stopped shaking. Doyun finished his song. The room was quiet now. The candles made dancing shadows on the walls. "Are you hungry?" Doyun asked. "I can make something to eat." No one answered, but Doyun went to the kitchen anyway. He found some instant noodles and vegetables. He started cooking. The smell filled the small quarters. It was a simple smell, salt and spice and warmth. When the food was ready, Doyun brought it to the living room. He gave everyone a bowl. Lian ate quickly. She was hungrier than she knew. Thessa looked at her bowl for a long time. Then she picked up the noodles with her fingers. She had never used human utensils before. She took a bite. For a moment her face changed. The coldness left. For just 1 second she looked like a normal child eating dinner. "It is not terrible," she said quietly. Doyun smiled a little. That was the best compliment he would get from her tonight. They sat together until the power came back on. The lights flickered and hummed. The darkness was gone. But something had changed in that room. Walls had started to crack. Bridges had started to form. Thessa looked at Doyun. She did not say thank you, she did not know how, but her eyes were different now. They were not full of hate anymore. They were full of questions. Why did this human help them? What did he want? Why was he being kind? Doyun did not want anything. He was just being himself. He was just a father taking care of children. That night, Lian slept with Bomb the rabbit in her arms. And for the first time in a long time, she did not have nightmares. The morning came slowly. Light from the station's artificial sun crept through the small windows. Doyun woke up first, like he always did. He moved quietly to the kitchen. He had not slept much. The power outage had kept everyone awake for hours, but Doyun was used to being tired. He had been tired since Yuna died. He looked into the living room. The two princesses were sleeping on the makeshift beds he had prepared. Lian was curled up like a small ball. She was still holding Nari's stuffed rabbit. Thessa slept nearby, her hands stretched out toward her sister. Even in sleep, she was protecting her. Doyun smiled softly. They were just children. Under all that royal training and cold pride, they were just scared little girls. He started making breakfast. He did not have much food left, just some rice, some eggs, and a few vegetables. He would need to go to the market soon, but for now this would be enough. The smell of cooking woke the others. Nari came out first, her hair messy and her eyes still half closed. "Good morning, Appa," she said with a yawn. "Good morning, little star. Wash your face and come eat." Nari walked to the small bathroom. On her way, she saw Lian waking up. Lian looked confused for a moment, like she did not remember where she was. Then she saw the rabbit in her hands and relaxed. "Good morning," Nari said cheerfully. "Did you sleep well? Did Bomb help?" Lian nodded slowly. "He is very soft," she whispered. Thessa was awake now too. She sat up and looked around. Her face was blank, but her eyes were alert. She was always watching, always careful. Doyun brought the food to the small table. There were 4 plates, all different sizes and colors. The rice was shaped into little balls. The eggs were fried with vegetables. "Please eat," Doyun said. "You must be hungry." Thessa looked at the food with suspicion, but Lian was already reaching for the rice. She had learned last night that this human did not poison his guests. They ate in silence. Nari tried to use the same eating posture as the princesses. She held her back very straight and took small bites, but she could not keep it up for long. Soon she was eating normally again, rice falling off her spoon. Lian watched her. A small smile appeared on her face. She tried to hide it, but Doyun saw it. After breakfast, Nari showed the princesses her drawings. She had a whole box full of them. Stars, planets, animals, people with big smiles. "This is my Appa," she said, holding up a drawing of a stick figure with black hair. And this is Iyama. She pointed to another figure with long hair and a yellow dress. She is in heaven now, but she watches us from the stars. Lien took the drawing carefully. She was beautiful, she said. She was the most beautiful, Nari agreed, and she gave the best hugs. Thessa watched this conversation from the corner. Her face was hard to read, but something in her eyes looked almost sad. At 10 o'clock, everything changed. The door to the quarters burst open. Guards in silver armor rushed inside. Behind them walked a figure that made the air itself feel colder. Empress Ilvara had arrived. She was tall, much taller than Do-Yun. Her skin was deep purple, and her silver hair flowed behind her like a river. Her eyes were gold, but darker than her daughter's eyes. Harder. They were the eyes of someone who had seen war, who had ordered death, who had built an empire on the bones of her enemies. She looked around the small room. Her face showed nothing, but her presence filled every corner. Do-Yun stood up slowly. He bowed his head slightly. He did not know the proper way to greet an empress, but he knew that respect was important. The guards moved toward him. "Step away from the princesses," one of them ordered. Do-Yun stepped back. He kept his hands visible. He did not want any trouble. But then something unexpected happened. Lien jumped up from the floor. She ran to Do-Yun and grabbed his hand. "No," she cried, "do not hurt him." Everyone froze, the guards, the empress. Even Thessa looked shocked. Lien had never raised her voice before. She had never disobeyed an order. She had never shown emotion in front of others. But here she was, holding a human's hand, tears forming in her eyes. Empress Ilvara stared at her youngest daughter. For a moment, something flickered in those cold eyes. Confusion, perhaps something else. Thessa stood up. She walked forward and stood next to Lien, next to Do-Yun. "This man helped us," Thessa said. Her voice was steady. "When the power failed, he kept us safe. He gave us food. He treated us with kindness." She said the last word like she was tasting something strange. Ilvara raised her hand. The guards stepped back. "Leave us," she commanded. The guards hesitated for only a second. Then they walked out, closing the door behind them. Ilvara looked at her daughters. Then she looked at Do-Yun. "Who are you?" she asked. Her voice was deep and powerful. "My name is Kang Do-Yun," he said. "I am a janitor." "A janitor," Ilvara repeated the word slowly. "And you took care of my daughters." "Yes." "Why?" Do-Yun met her eyes. He was scared, but he did not look away. "Because they are children, and children should be taken care of." Ilvara stared at him for a long moment. No one had ever spoken to her so simply. No one had ever answered her questions without fear or flattery. She turned to her daughters. "What did he do for you?" Lien spoke first. Her voice was small but clear. "He made us hot chocolate. He sang to me when I was scared of the dark. He gave us his own pillow." Thessa added, "He never asked for anything. He did not want power or money or favor. He just helped us." Ilvara was quiet for a long time. She looked around the room again. She saw the drawings on the wall. She saw the mismatched cups on the table. She saw the stuffed rabbit in Lien's hands. "My daughters have never laughed in public," she said quietly. "Royal training forbids emotional display. They must be strong, always." Do-Yun nodded. He understood. "When I arrived, I expected to find them upset, perhaps mistreated. I expected to punish whoever was responsible." She paused. "Instead, I find them eating breakfast with a human child. I find them looking at drawings. I find my youngest daughter defending a janitor." Do-Yun did not know what to say, so he said what was true. "They are good children. They just needed someone to treat them like children." Ilvara looked at him with those powerful eyes. For the first time, the coldness in them seemed to crack. "Tell me about yourself," she said. "Tell me about your life." So Do-Yun told her. He told her about Yuna, about her death, about bringing Nari to this station, about working hard to give his daughter a good life, about being tired but never giving up. Ilvara listened to every word. When he finished, she was quiet again. Then she said something that no one expected. "I want you to come with us. I want you to take care of my daughters during our diplomatic tour. They need what you have given them. They need kindness." Doyun did not answer right away. He looked at Nari, who was watching with big eyes. "I am just a janitor," he said. "Perhaps," Ilvara replied, "but perhaps that is exactly what my daughters need." She turned and walked toward the door. Before she left, she looked back one more time. "Think about it, Kang Doyun. The galaxy is larger than this old station, and sometimes the smallest people make the biggest difference." Then she was gone. Doyun stood in the quiet room. His heart was beating fast. Nari ran up to him and hugged his leg. "Appa," she said, "are we going on an adventure?" Doyun looked down at his daughter. He looked at the two princesses who were watching him with hope in their eyes. He did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing. Wherever he went, he would keep doing what he did best. Taking care of children, no matter who they were. The Imperial Velanthe flagship was the largest ship Doyun had ever seen. It stretched across the stars like a floating city. Its walls were made of silver metal that glowed with soft purple light. Everything was beautiful. Everything was perfect. And Doyun felt completely out of place. He walked through the hallways with Nari holding his hand. They followed a guard who led them to their new quarters. Other aliens stopped to stare at them. Some whispered behind their hands. Some laughed. "Is that the human janitor?" one of them said. "I heard the Empress brought him to take care of the princesses. Can you believe it? Humans, they are barely civilized. What was she thinking?" Doyun ignored the whispers. He had heard worse before. Words could not hurt him anymore. Their new quarters were bigger than their entire home on the station. There were 3 rooms, a large living area and a kitchen with real food. The beds were soft, and the windows showed the stars outside. Nari ran around the room with excitement. "Appa, look! The ceiling has lights that look like stars, and the bed is so big." Doyun smiled at his daughter. Her happiness was enough to make him forget the starring and the whispers. Princess Thessa and Princess Lian came to visit them that first day. Lian still carried Bomb the rabbit. She had not let go of it since leaving the station. "Your quarters are acceptable," Thessa said. She tried to sound formal, but her eyes kept looking at the drawings Nari had already put on the wall. "They are very nice," Doyun said. "Thank you." Thessa nodded. She did not know how to accept thanks. No one had ever thanked her before. The days on the flagship fell into a routine. Doyun woke up early. He made breakfast for everyone. Simple food, rice and vegetables and eggs. The princesses had never eaten such plain meals before, but they stopped complaining after the first week. In the mornings, Nari had lessons with the princesses. They learned reading, writing, history, and science. Thessa was a good student. She answered every question correctly, but she never smiled. She never relaxed. Lian struggled more. She was quiet and often forgot what she had learned. The tutors were impatient with her. They sighed and shook their heads. One day, Doyun found Lian crying in the corner of the library. Her books were scattered around her. "What is wrong?" he asked gently. "I am stupid," Lian whispered. "Everyone says so. I cannot remember things like Thessa can. I will never be a good princess." Doyun sat down next to her. He picked up one of her books. It was about the history of the Velanthe Empire. It was very thick and very boring. "Can I tell you a secret?" he asked. Lian looked up at him with wet eyes. "I was not a good student either. I could not remember dates and names. My teachers thought I was slow, but my mother always said something to me." "What?" "She said that everyone has different gifts. Some people remember facts. Some people remember feelings. Some people are smart with their heads. Some people are smart with their hearts. Lian wiped her eyes. What was my gift? Doyun thought about this. You see people, he said. You feel what they feel. That is very rare. That is very special. Lian looked at her hands. Is that really a gift? It is the best gift, Doyun said. Anyone can learn facts from a book, but understanding people, that takes something books cannot teach. From that day on, Lian started drawing again. She had stopped years ago because her tutors said it was a waste of time, but Doyun encouraged her. He gave her paper and colors. He hung every single picture she drew on his wall. Thessa changed more slowly. She was still proud, still cold. But sometimes, when she thought no one was watching, she would listen to Doyun's stories. She would watch how he treated Nari. She would see the love in his eyes. One night she came to Doyun's quarters alone. It was late. Everyone else was asleep. I need to tell you something, she said. Her voice was different, softer. I am listening. Thessa sat down. She did not look at him. I am scared. Doyun waited. I am going to be Empress one day. Everyone expects me to be perfect, to be strong, to never make mistakes, but I am terrified. What if I fail? What if I am not good enough? Doyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Can I tell you what I think? Thessa nodded. Perfection is not real. No one is perfect, not even your mother. What matters is not being perfect. What matters is trying. What matters is caring. What matters is kindness. Kindness? Thessa looked at him with confused eyes. Kindness is weakness. That is what I have always been taught. That is wrong, Doyun said simply. Kindness is the hardest thing in the galaxy. It is easy to be cruel. It is easy to be cold. But to be kind, especially when you are powerful, that takes true strength. Thessa sat with these words for a long time. She did not respond. But when she left, something in her eyes had changed. 3 months into the diplomatic tour, disaster struck. They were at a summit on a neutral planet. Leaders from many species had gathered to talk about trade and peace. Empress Ilvara was speaking to a crowd when it happened. An explosion, screams, chaos. Someone had tried to kill the Empress. Ilvara survived, but she was badly hurt. Guards rushed everywhere. People ran in all directions. In the confusion, Thessa and Lian were separated from the security team. Doyun found them hiding behind a fallen pillar. Lian was crying. Thessa was trying to be brave, but her hands were shaking. Come with me, Doyun said. He grabbed their hands and started moving. He knew this type of building. He had cleaned similar places for years. He knew where the maintenance tunnels were. He knew which paths were safe. They moved through the shadows. Doyun kept the princesses calm. He told them to breathe slowly. He told them everything would be okay. When they reached a safe room, he locked the door and waited. Outside, he could hear fighting, shouting, more explosions. Lian buried her face in his chest. I am scared, she cried. I know, Doyun said. He held her close. But I am here. I will not let anything happen to you. Thessa watched him. She saw this human, this janitor, risking his life for them. She saw him staying calm when guards had panicked. She saw him knowing exactly what to do. Hours later, the danger passed. Guards found them and brought them to safety. Empress Ilvara was in a medical room, recovering from her injuries. When Doyun and the princesses entered, she looked up. Her eyes found Doyun. She stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly, the Empress of the Velanthe Empire bowed her head to a human janitor. You saved my daughters, she said. Her voice was weak but sincere. I owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. Doyun shook his head. I did not do anything special. I just did what any father would do. Ilvara smiled. It was a small smile, tired and pained, but it was real. Perhaps, she said, but in my experience, few fathers would do what you did, especially for children that are not their own. Lian ran to her mother's bed. Thessa followed, but she kept looking back at Doyun. Something had changed in her completely that day. She finally understood what kindness meant, and she would never forget. 6 months had passed since the attack at the summit. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Do-Yun stood on the balcony of the Imperial Palace on Velanthi Prime. The sky was soft purple, caught in eternal twilight. 2 moons hung low on the horizon, glowing like giant lanterns. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Behind him, he could hear Nari laughing. She was playing with Lian in the garden below. Their voices mixed with the sound of wind through the silver trees. Do-Yun was no longer a janitor. Empress Ilvara had given him a new title, guardian and advisor to the royal children. It was a position that had never existed before. It was a position created just for him. But Do-Yun did not feel different. He still woke up early. He still made breakfast. He still cleaned his own quarters. He still told stories before bedtime. Some things never changed. Word had spread across the galaxy. Everyone knew the story now. The human janitor who softened the Iron Empress. Some laughed at it. Some thought it was just a story, but many believed. Ambassadors from other species came to study human behavior. They wanted to understand what Do-Yun had done. They took notes. They asked questions. They tried to find the secret. "Is it a technique?" one ambassador asked. "A special training method?" Do-Yun shook his head. "No technique, I just care about them." "But surely there must be more to it. Some strategy, some manipulation." "No," Do-Yun said. "I just treat them like they matter because they do." The ambassadors did not understand. They wrote reports about human bonding methods and emotional influence strategies. They missed the point completely. It was not complicated. It was simple. You cared about people. You treated them with kindness. You listened to them. You made them feel safe. That was all. Empress Ilvara changed too. She started implementing new policies, better treatment for species that had been called lesser, more support for orphans and poor families across her empire, schools that taught kindness alongside strength. Her advisors were confused. Her generals questioned her, but she did not stop. "I built an empire on power," she told them. "But I forgot that power without heart is just cruelty. A human janitor reminded me of that." Thessa grew stronger every day. She was not the cold, angry girl she had been on the station. She still had pride. She still walked with her head high, but now there was warmth in her eyes. She started visiting the common areas of the palace. She talked to servants and workers. She learned their names. She asked about their families. The palace staff did not know what to think at first. A princess talking to them, caring about their lives, it was unheard of. But slowly they began to open up. They began to trust her. They began to love her. One day, Thessa was invited to speak at the Galactic Council. It was a great honor. Leaders from 1,000 worlds would be listening. Do-Yun watched from the back of the room. Nari sat on his lap. Lian stood near the stage, holding a piece of paper. Thessa walked to the speaking platform. She looked so small among all those powerful aliens, but her voice was strong. "I am Princess Thessa of the Velanthi Empire," she said. "One day I will be Empress. Many of you know my mother. You fear her. You respect her. You obey her." She paused. "But today I want to tell you about someone else. Someone you have probably never heard of. His name is Kang Do-Yun. He is a human. He was a janitor." Whispers filled the room. Some laughed, a janitor, at the Galactic Council. Thessa continued. "My mother rules an empire. She has ships that can destroy planets. She has armies that have never lost a battle. But a human janitor taught me something she never could." The room grew quiet. "He taught me that true power is not about weapons or fear. True power is about love. True leadership is about service. True strength is about caring for the weak, not crushing them." Thessa looked toward the back of the room. Her eyes found Do-Yun. "He taught me what it means to lead, Not with your fist, with your heart. There was silence. Then slowly someone began to clap, then another, and another. Soon the entire Galactic Council was applauding. It was not the loudest applause, it was not the longest, but it was real. After the speech, Lian walked to the front of the room. She was holding her paper carefully. It was a drawing. She showed it to the council. It was a picture of a family. There was a tall purple figure that looked like her mother, two smaller purple figures that were her and Thessa, and two humans with black hair, one tall, one small. "This is my family," Lian said softly. "It is bigger than it used to be." Doyun's eyes became wet. He held Nari tighter. That evening they all gathered on the palace balcony. Ilvara, Thessa, Lian, Doyun, and Nari. The eternal twilight painted the sky in shades of purple and gold. Ilvara stood next to Doyun. She did not look like an empress in that moment. She looked like a mother, tired, grateful, happy. "I never thanked you properly," she said. "You do not need to," Doyun replied. "You changed everything. My daughters, my empire, me." Doyun shook his head. "I did not change anything. I just did what my wife would have done. I just loved them." Ilvara looked at him for a long moment. "Your wife must have been an extraordinary woman." "She was," Doyun said. "She taught me everything I know. She taught me that love is not weakness, that kindness is not foolishness, that the smallest acts can change the biggest things." They stood in comfortable silence. The children played below. Laughter echoed through the garden. Nari ran up to her father. Her face was bright with joy. "Appa, Lian taught me how to say hello in Velanthi. Listen, Velatora." Lian followed behind her. "She is learning very fast," she said proudly. Thessa joined them too. She stood next to Doyun like it was the most natural thing in the galaxy. Doyun looked at them all. His daughter, the princesses, the Empress. This strange, unexpected family he had found among the stars. He thought about the small room on the station. The broken lights, the cheap coffee, the drawings on the wall. It seemed so far away now. But he was still the same person. He still cleaned up messes. He still took care of children. He still did his best every single day. That was all he had ever done. And somehow that had been enough. The galaxy had learned something important. They learned that you did not need armies to change the world. You did not need power or money or titles. Sometimes, all you needed was a father who made instant noodles for lonely children. Sometimes, all you needed was a heart that refused to be cold. Sometimes, all you needed was to be human. Doyun watched the sunset on Velanthi Prime. He held his daughter's hand. He felt peace in his chest. Yuna would be proud. He could feel her smiling from the stars. He was still just a janitor. He would always be just a janitor. But the galaxy had never seen a janitor quite like him. And they never would again.